engage in inappropriate relationships with students. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Rebekah Dahl. How much should police know about where you've been? Waco Bridge's Sam Shaw explains the rapid spread of flock cameras across Texas and why they're fueling a growing privacy backlash.
Plus, have you ever walked past a curbside dresser and wondered if you just missed a treasure? Houston vintage furniture restorer Briana Byrd will be here to figure that out for us.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. In New York, Luigi Mangione has pleaded guilty to federal stalking charges connected to the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Prosecutors say the 28-year-old tracked Thompson down and shot him on a Manhattan sidewalk in 2024. He was charged by both federal and state prosecutors with ambushing the 50-year-old Thompson. Earlier this year, a judge struck down federal charges that could have brought the death penalty. Mangione still faces murder charges in a state trial set to begin next month, but his legal team is now expected to argue for the judge to toss those charges, given the federal guilty plea. President Trump's military campaign against Iran hasn't gone the way he promised it would. The administration now says it's getting ready to wage economic warfare, and ordinary Iranians say they will bear the brunt of that pain. NPR's Hadil Al-Shalchi has more from Turkey.
All Iranians NPR spoke to in Van agreed on one thing. Their country has become expensive. A tray of 30 eggs is now $5, double what it was about a month ago. Cooking oil is $3 for a 30-ounce bottle. That jumped about 30% in a month. A personal trainer who just arrived from Tehran said she can't afford much there anymore.
Like travel, like buying clothes, like, for example, I eat a lot of protein a day. Now I have to limit that.
She didn't want to be identified for fear of retribution from the regime. She said that people in Tehran were tense and on edge because of uncertainty, and the only hope for a future was to emigrate from Iran. Hadil Al-Shalchi, NPR News, Van, Turkey.
A new generation of small nuclear reactors could come online in the next few years. Companies successfully turned on 4 reactors this summer, but public opinion remains split. Hannah Merzbach of the Mountain West News Bureau has more.
A March Gallup poll shows 53% of Americans oppose having a local nuclear plant. Vicky O'Hara is not among them. She owns a bar in Atomic City outside of Idaho National Lab, the center of U.S. nuclear research.
I live 10 miles away, and I'm fine. I'm not glowing in the dark. There's nothing to be scared of.
But nuclear safety experts are worried the Trump administration's fast-tracking of permits could lead to mistakes. The administration sees nuclear power as one way to meet rising energy demand. While many Americans don't want a plant in their backyard, polling also shows growing support for the U.S. emphasizing nuclear power more broadly. For NPR News, I'm Hannah Merzbach in Jackson, Wyoming.
Wall Street is trading lower at this hour. The Dow is down 140 points. The Nasdaq down 105 points. The S&P 500 is down 13. You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Texas faces an ongoing threat from bad actors using drones. That's the testimony from Dr. Michael McKee, an expert in advanced drone technology with the RAND Corporation. He told a state Senate committee in Austin border incursions are already taking place.
Texas is already living with this. Cartels fly drones every day, surveilling law enforcement partners, smuggling narcotics and contraband across the border and into prisons, scouting routes and stash houses.
Lawmakers listen to testimony as they craft new laws aimed at fighting these drone incursions. The Conroe City Council voted last night not to give voters the opportunity to weigh in on the use of flock cameras this November. Those are the automated license plate readers that have been subject to intense debate all around Houston and the rest of the country over privacy concerns. Law enforcement, though, say it helps them solve crimes. Only 2 Conroe council members backed putting the binding proposition on the ballot ahead of Monday's deadline when the measure needed 3. Today marks 14 years since Austin Tice, a Houstonian journalist and U.S. Marine Corps veteran, was abducted in Syria. Tice was reporting on the Syrian civil war when he disappeared from a checkpoint west of Damascus. A video released shortly afterward showed him being held by armed men. Tice's family is convinced he's still alive and has worked with successive presidential administrations to try and locate him to secure his release. Taking a check of your weather, a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms today. Otherwise, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high near 94 and a heat index of about 105. Right now, it's partly cloudy, 88 degrees on the UH campus. Get more news and information. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Subaru. As part of the Subaru Loves Learning initiative, Subaru and its retailers are partnering with AdoptAClassroom.org to provide funding to high-need schools in local communities. Subaru, more than a car company.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Happy Friday, Houston. Ernie Manous with you as we take you into the weekend. Except for those of you who still have like 5 more hours of work ahead of you, and you think that's unfair of me to say. Well, but it's not just me saying it. Sitting in the guest host chair today to finish up our week of prominent women in the Houston theater scene, Rebekah Dahl is here. Hello, Rebekah.
Hi, honey. I'm so happy to be here.
You can say honey because we've known each other 30 years, 25 years.
Since we were just mere little babies.
Since we were chillin'.
I know. We used to sit in the pram together.
Yeah.
Get rolled around.
Rolled around. Our nanny was one. No. Rebekah, you may know from the Music Box Theater. They used to be in, what do you call it, Montrose area?
Upper
Kirby area. And now you guys, for a good chunk of time now, are out town and country area.
3 years in City Center, yes.
Wow. And so tell folks a little bit about the Music Box.
So we're essentially a cabaret theater, what New York would call a cabaret theater, not what Texas would call a cabaret theater, because we keep our clothes on. But we do a live popular music from across the decades and interspersed with sketch comedy. And each show has a theme. Right now, we're closing up our Feelin' Groovy show this weekend, which is music of the 60s and 70s. And going into next weekend, next Saturday night, we're opening our country show. So if you like any kind of country music, old and new, bluegrass, folk, in-laws, outlaws, all of it. We're doing that starting next Saturday.
A connection I have into Music Box here, and all of you would have even without knowing it. If you remember our Downton Abbey after show, Manner of Speaking, I had a butler on the show, Mr. Rogers. But that's not who he really is.
No, that's Luke Roble, my brother from another mother.
Yeah, and he's in the company.
He's in our troupe, yes. We have 5 performers, and Luke is one of them, along with my husband, Christina Sullivan, and Kay Taylor. And then we have an incredible 4-piece live band that's also on stage with us.
Yeah, it's funny. We're sitting in the studios here at the Melcher Center, and it was because of an appearance of the Music Box Theater troupe here in the studio that's right behind us is how he ended up becoming my Mr. Rogers.
That's right. You and I have been buddies, and you said, I'm looking for an actor to play this butler. And I said, I got your guy right in the other room.
It was very funny. We had another actor lined up, and he had to finish up a previous engagement, so he was going to miss the pilot shooting of our show. But we had such a low budget, we couldn't buy more than one tuxedo. So whoever was going to play it in the pilot, if we got picked up, which we knew we would because it was right here we were doing the pilot, they had to fit the tuxedo. And so I said, as much as I want to use you, I can't use you. And I left my office and walked into our little commissary kitchen here. And you were standing there, Rebekah. And I was like, and you're like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh my God, I just lost the actor. We're taping in 3 days and I don't have a guy. And you were like, Luke's here. He loves Downton Abbey. And that was how Mr. Rogers was born.
Yeah, and Luke's hilarious and very droll, so I
Yes.
knew he'd do a great job.
He was he
And
did more
sure
with
did.
that.
He got nominated for an Emmy
Multiple times.
3 times,
Yeah.
3 years in a row. Crazy.
Nobody could have done as much with that character as he did. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about Rebekah. Another interesting little caveat is this is the last day of official guest hosts sitting in on the show, because on Monday, our new permanent co-host joins me. We'll be talking with her a little later in the show. If you don't already know who it is, I'm not going to tell you right now. You got to wait a little bit. But everyone's pretty much heard already because we've said it on the show. So anyway, Tessa Barrera will be joining me. So much for keeping that hidden. But you have the distinction of also having been the last guest on another show I did.
That's right. The After Party. May she rest in peace.
Yep.
I was your last guest, your Bette Midler.
You have always brought me luck.
Oh, thank you, baby.
Just like those diamonds for Elizabeth
and you
Taylor.
for me.
Yes. So anyway, Rebekah's in with us today, bringing her energy, her talent, her warmth, and humor to the program. And we invite you always to join us with your phone calls, your emails, your texts. As we go through the show, you are part of that conversation. Coming up on the show today, we've got some very interesting things. We're going to be taking a look at. Flock cameras are all over the news. We talked about them earlier this week on the show a little bit. We're going to take a deeper dive into what these cameras are, what they do, what's happening across the state of Texas. Are they good? Are they bad? Who actually controls them? We're going to be finding that out in just a little bit. Also, are you a DIYer? Do you often find a piece of furniture or pass something by and say, wow, was that a treasure I just passed up? We're going to help you suss that out. We're heading into the fall always. I'm always happy when summer ends.
Fall is my favorite.
Mine too. And also, I'm not a swimsuit kind of guy. So all summer long, I feel the pressure to go to the pool. I don't want to go. So when fall gets here, I feel like I've made it through another season. But it's also Halloween comes along with that. Werewolves come along with all of that. We're going to be talking with a local author who has got a sequel to a very successful graphic novel he put out. And he'll be here to talk to us about that. And it's the weekend. So your weekend plans, we want to hear what you've got going on. Last minute plans comes up at the end of the show. So start sending them in to us now at talk@hellohouston.org. They can be something you're going to, something you've heard about, something you are hosting or throwing that you think the world needs to know about. Share that with us right now, and we'll share them with you at the end of the show, along with a drop-in guest from my new co-host who will be joining us a little later in the show, too. Anyway, all of that being said, let's get into the headlines of the day. Rebekah, take us in.
Governor Greg Abbott is calling for tougher penalties for Texas teachers who engage in inappropriate relationships with students. During a roundtable in Lubbock, Abbott proposed a minimum 10-year prison sentence with no chance of parole, along with mandatory sex offender registration for educators convicted of abusing students. Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows says the measure will be a priority when lawmakers return next year. The push comes as Texas reported more than 1,700 allegations of inappropriate teacher-student relationships or communications in 2026, which is roughly 3 times the number reported the year before. That is concerning.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this? Give us a call or text. Share your opinion with us right now. 713-440-8870. There's a lot in that story that's extremely eye-opening and surprising to me. First of all, the number of allegations. Yes, I know there's lots of students and lots of teachers in this system. It's a huge school district. But I'm sorry, there shouldn't be one, let alone 1,700 allegations.
Completely.
That's ridiculous. And you have a school-age student.
I do. My son is starting 7th grade. Actually, he started this week. Yes, and I agree. Let's lock these people up for sure. Yeah. My concern is what kind of mental health, help are they getting behind bars? Because when they do get out at the end of that 10 years, what is the recidivism rate there, and how are we helping these people? Because the statistics show that they're just going to keep behaving the way they're behaving if we just punish and don't help, and that's concerning. But absolutely lock them up for more than 10 years. Can we do 20?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a line that should never be crossed. And I don't think there's any justification anyway. One of the jobs I have on this show is always to try and see both sides of an issue. But there are
no both sides here.
There's no both sides.
No.
There's not. But we really are. No, The brains aren't developed in kids that age. So you can't, first of all, say, well, they wanted it too. No, they don't know what they
Absolutely
want,
not.
You know, and you know better. You are put in a position of being a protector, an authority figure, an educator, and not in that way.
It's despicable.
Yeah.
And I think, everyone can agree with that, right? That's something we can all get behind.
Right. You know, you make a good point, too, when you read what you read about a minimum 10-year prison sentence, no chance of parole, mandatory sex offender registration. But the part that's missing from this that you mentioned is, where is the psychological work? Where is the help in
These are
rehabilitation?
sick people.
They say statistics prove that there is no cure for that. I have heard stories over the years of somebody 17 with somebody 18, and so then it becomes a wishy-washy period at that point where they're basically the same age in many regards. That's not what we're talking about here. No. And this should not be. And also,
Teachers
I'm not saying it's okay to be 17 and be with an 18-year-old. I'm not saying
Correct.
that
You're not saying that. And also, teachers are in a position of power, so kids look up to their teachers. It's just despicable. It doesn't matter how old you are, you know?
We do want to know what you think. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. I said there was a lot of things that were surprising in this. I was surprised that he's asking for a minimum of 10 years because that is not currently what's there. And so I went to look it up on the books because it's considered a second-degree felony in Texas. And it has a range of penalties of 2 to 20 years and up to $10,000 fine. 2 years. That's ridiculous. So yes, I'm very happy that he's proposing a 10-year minimum. There's the cynic in me that says, well, he's saying it now because we're in an election cycle, and he wants one more thing to draw voters his way and say, see, I'm there for you. I wish these things were on the books well before.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Thoughts on when you send your child to school, did you ever worry these kind of things would happen?
I think it's important for parents to have conversations with their kids about this stuff. We've talked to our son since he was 6 years old about, who has access to his body, in the sense of, and also what's appropriate and what's inappropriate for any adult in your life. The things that they say to you, the things that they talk to you about, red flags. Yeah. I think it's really important to have open communication with your kids.
Do you think you talk differently to your son than if you had a daughter?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm glad I had a son. I wanted a son, and I'm glad but I don't know. I think it would be the same. Also, I think I do talk to my son about how he is with girls, and it's different. You want to teach boys to be respectful and that you don't get to touch anybody.
Right.
You don't get to put your hands on anybody without consent or permission. We've been saying that to him since he was a little boy. So I don't know if I would speak to a girl that way.
Yeah.
But, you should, because it should be the same across the board.
Yeah, everyone should be aware of that. We had a comment that came in from text. What do you mean by, quote, inappropriate relationship with a student? Unquote. The governor's soundbite doesn't explain the euphemism. I'm pronouncing that wrong, but it is more than sexual assault, aka rape of a minor. Or is it more than sexual assault, aka rape of a minor? Texas laws are already tough, up to 20 years with no parole. But as I mentioned, it is only a second-degree felony. Yes, up to 20 years, but it can start at just 2 years. So keep that in mind. That's my little editorial on that. Teachers should be held to a high standard, and the law allows that. Well, yes, but I think that making a minimum of 10 years is definitely giving you a different time frame of penalty than just 2 to 20 years. So just wanted to point that out. 713-440-8870. We got a call on the line. It is Tom. He is calling us from the Heights. Tom, your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if you have any stats on the gender breakdown of these 1,700 cases. I'm also very interested in if we can expect sort of equal sentencing when it comes to this, the mandated sentencing. Currently, I know that there's a huge disparity in sentencing on this particular issue nationally, as far as the female teachers, female perpetrators are sentenced at something like a fifth or something of the jail time that men get.
Yeah,
and I'm interested in how Texas intends to treat that issue, and as well as I've asked, what is the gender breakdown in the current stat?
I'd be curious to know that too. I would assume that it happens more often to girls than to boys, but I don't have any stats to point that out to me right at this point. And also, I would assume that probably male offenders get a harsher sentence than female offenders, and that is just assumption I'm making here. But I would be curious in knowing that information. If we can get it, we'll bring it to you in a little bit. You're nodding your head over there, Rebekah.
I think you're probably right, but I wouldn't know. I mean, we have our Mary Kay Letourneaus out there,
right?
I'm sure.
And I don't think it's any less of a crime.
I do not
if it's
either.
a female teacher who preys on, and I say praise because that's what it is, on a male student. I think it's just
the vulnerability is the same.
We
they're
joke about
kids.
it in pop culture about, oh yeah, but it's not. It's still trauma. It's still upset.
Yeah.
It's still violation. It still breaks the law. It is still unacceptable. Tom, thank you very much for calling and adding another layer to this conversation to think about. It's one thing to say let's have mandatory sentencing, but it's another to make sure that you then carry it out fairly and justly across the board. I also say, though, that you do need to have your time in court. You need to have a fair trial. You need to know that, and when found guilty, then you need this applied evenly equitable across cases.
Agreed.
Right? Yeah. Now you moved your son into a private school.
We did for 6.
I don't know if you wanted me to say that
for middle school. No, that's okay. We did it mostly because middle school is hard and it's tough, and I wanted him. My husband and I both wanted him to have more individual attention. But hearing these statistics, I'm kind of glad we did at this point.
We always are interested in what you think, how you feel, your concerns. 713-440-8870. I'm going to, just before we run out of time, I got one little extra headline that I just wanted to bring up and get your feelings on. Someone in Sugar Land is $1 million richer after claiming a Powerball prize from the July 25th drawing. Do you play the lottery?
No.
Even when they now, I'm happy for your $1 million winner out there, and if you want to share some with me, I'm even more happy with that.
Don't blame you for not putting your name out there.
But it was almost $1 billion somebody could have won in that Powerball drawing. So I think to myself, does the millionaire feel like, oh, all I got was $1 million? Where if somebody just gave you a paper bag and it had $1 million in it, you'd be so happy.
Completely.
But I think we have these unexpected
comparison.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I only won $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fine. But I will only play when it's outrageously ridiculous amount of money. And I missed getting into this last one. And I wish I had, I know I'm not going to win. I know the chances are ridiculous, but someone does win.
Yeah.
And it could be you.
Yeah.
But you don't play it at all. You never.
No,
$1.2 billion.
Once in a while, Luke, the guy we were just talking about, will come into the dressing room and be like, come on, guys, it's $1 billion. Let's each put in. And we've done that where we'll put in a pot and then it's like we agree that we're going to split it up if one of us wins.
Oh, my God. I would love to see a story written about a group of people. And I know all the members of Music Box. If you guys won a big killing, how it would change all of you.
Do you think it would break up the band?
Right. Would it break up the band? You guys have been wonderfully together for
Luke would run for the hills with the money and leave us all behind.
Yeah. Christina would be running after him.
He'd have to take his wife.
Yeah. Well, we hope. Maybe that's the break. Maybe $1 million. If you won, I'm going to throw one more question out and then we're going to move on with the show. If you won a huge sum of money in a lottery, let's say anything over $500 million, would it change who you are and how would it change you?
Yeah. I think I would
share those comments over in our chat group right now. Yes. I see someone's very excited that they would be. Oh, I'd be chuffed if I only won $100. Yes, but you know what? It would have been $100 you didn't have before. But anyway, in our chat group over on YouTube, feel free to let me know if you won $500 million or more. How would it change you? I'd be curious to see that. Okay, we're going to move ahead with the show. So, thank you for playing along so far. We're always interested in what you think, what you feel. 713-440-8870. Quick break. When we come back, it's time to talk about something that's on a lot of people's mind. Flock cameras. Don't go anywhere.
Meet Tio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
By keeping you informed. PBS NewsHour, Frontline, and documentaries that provide a voice to the voiceless. Stream live, engage on demand, and enjoy past seasons through PBS Passport. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs and stay informed.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week we're doing some island hopping. It's the soulful Puerto Rican home cooking of Omi Hopper and the global flavors of Hawaii remade as easy home hacks by Top Chef star Sheldon Simeon. It's coming up on The Splendid Table.
You can listen to The Splendid Table this Sunday at noon.
On the next Climate One, Benji Backer made a name for himself as a conservative who wanted to bring other conservatives into climate action, but realized he needed to build an even bigger tent.
In today's politics, it's us versus them all the time. And so if you're just focused on conservatives, it doesn't really get us there.
Benji Backer, Nature is Nonpartisan, on the next Climate One.
Listen Sunday at 6 a.m.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Audie International School, where students from PK3 to 12th grade grow in curiosity and courage, preparing them to make their mark on the world. The future's so bright at Audie. More at audie.org.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, it's a star-studded celebration of Willie Nelson's 90th birthday. The historic concert event features Willie, Beck, Sheryl Crow, Snoop Dogg, George Strait, and many more. Tonight at 8 on TV8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Ernie Manous and Rebekah Dahl.
Really quickly, I want to mention I had said chuffed, meaning as though it was a negative term about winning just $100, but actually I've been corrected. That means happy. So the person would be happy just to win
That's
$100.
right. They'd be bloody chuffed, they would.
And one other person commented if they won $100 right now, they would still wear Levi's, or this was the $500 million, they would still wear Levi's and shop at H-E-B. Take us into our first story.
Well, across the nation, a growing network of cameras is giving law enforcement detailed information about vehicles on the road. The cameras use artificial intelligence to scan and upload license plate and vehicle information to Flock Safety Surveillance Network, which law enforcement agencies that contract with the company can search and share with other participating agencies. Through Flock's National Lookup program, officers can do this without a warrant. Police say the cameras can help solve crimes and find missing people, but privacy and civil liberties advocates warn that the technology could create a far-reaching system for tracking our movements. And some Texans are pushing back by disabling the cameras and in some cases tearing them down themselves. To help us understand all of this, we are joined by Sam Shaw, a government and growth reporter at the Waco Bridge, who's been reporting on the expansion of flock cameras and the debate over their use. Sam, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Sam, as we talk about this, I know this is a hot topic for a lot of folks, so I want to remind them you can call in and join the conversation. It's 713-440-8870. First of all, I guess I'll start with, do a lot of people misunderstand what Flock does, what their cameras are, and the connection they have to the community?
You know, maybe at one point, not so long ago, but I think the general public awareness of what a flock camera, or more generally an automated license plate reader, does is fairly widespread now.
Yeah.
But you know, as recently as maybe 6 months ago, you definitely get a deer in headlights look from a lot of folks if you mention ALPR, you know?
Yeah. I guess the part that surprised me the most, maybe I'm just out of touch, was that when I realized they're a company that is contracted to put these in by an organization. It's not a systematic thing done across the nation. It's like if you have a homeowners association, you can buy these flock cameras and put them in. And theoretically, flock camera is just giving you the data, you, the owner of the cameras or the contractor of the cameras, the information. It's how the person that has enabled this service uses that information. Am I correct or am I off on that?
No, you're right. These can theoretically be siloed off. Flock likes to advertise that the consumer or law enforcement agency has control of the data, but the power of the system is its interconnection to other camera networks owned by other cities or federal law enforcement or state law enforcement, or as you mentioned, private users such as HOAs and Home Depot and Lowe's. So that complicates the picture of who has access. And I mean, to put it sort of as simply as I can, right? It's so easy to share the information with other agencies and other cities and other states, which makes it extremely difficult to monitor how other agencies use that data after giving them access. So it's kind of a weak link problem, right? Where you can be pretty buttoned up, but say you share the information with another department that has its own sharing policy with dozens of other ones, right? And so you can kind of see where it's difficult to manage who and what has access to data that offers a pretty granular picture of how Americans move and travel.
And just quickly to put a button on this conversation, though, but it is the person who contracts, who buys, who installs these cameras, has this service. They're the ones who decide who they give access to, correct? It's not Flock itself as an organization deciding it can spread.
That's right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for people to understand this. So now I think we jumped way ahead in this story. So for those who don't know, explain what a flock camera is, explain how it's different than just the security cameras we see all around, and why this is of concern.
Yeah, I think your co-host did a really nice job packaging that up. But I'll just start with Flock Safety. This is the company. They're based in Atlanta. I think they're founded in 2016. And they sell surveillance video cameras, license plate cameras, which we'll talk about more, and shot spotter type technology, basically public microphones, these kind of things. And they're super popular. They're in 49 states. Some estimates put the number of cameras over 100,000. And so what makes them unique? Well, every vehicle that passes the camera is kind of logged into a searchable database for 7 to 30 days. And while we're talking about license plates and that particular product, the license plate camera, it's not just that, it's also taking in the make and model of the car, scratches, bumper stickers, paint color, what Flock calls the vehicle's fingerprint. And then that database, of course, is searchable without a warrant, as you already mentioned. And the dashboard sort of, resembles and operates kind of like a social media account in some ways. And I think that's maybe the easiest way for folks to understand sort of like sharing settings, right? Like you could, on Facebook, you can say, only my close friends can see my posts, that kind of thing. Right. Or you can say, anybody in the world can go look up my name and my account and see everything. And so those are kind of like the menu of options available for who can search your data and the data that you can search from other departments. And this is fundamentally what makes the system different, is that the cameras can become interoperable across the entire country, right? So you can feasibly, search for this or that, crime or suspected crime in other jurisdictions, in other states, pretty far afield.
And I don't want to sound like I'm pro Flock camera. I'm just trying to bring some different elements of this out. And the understanding is Flock claims it doesn't do facial recognition. It's not looking at the people, it's just the vehicles. Is that correct?
It can look at people. They've had demonstration videos and advertisements. I think they were removed from their site, actually. You can get in touch with Dave Moss at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who's been very on top of this for maybe 5 or 6 years. But the main use case is tracking the vehicles.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, and from their public statements, they do not enable facial recognition with their products.
Yeah. And the last thing that I want to get to some calls too at 713-440-8870. One argument would be made, they're not shooting in, these cameras are not capturing images and behaviors within private settings, theoretically. They're not in your home. They're not, it's what's happening out in public ways. So we have an understanding of our privacy is gone when we're out in public. How do you address those statements?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a line I hear in defense of Flock a lot, basically that the cameras are legally identical to, say, an officer standing on the side of the road with a camera and a notepad, or even just a person doing so, right, in a public easement. I think the analogy is a little stretched when you think about an automated system that never sleeps and captures every vehicle that passes by, irrespective of whether they are suspected of committing a crime. And if you were to like really apply it in a literal sense, I mean, you would be talking about like what, maybe 20 officers or deputies on the side of the road furiously scribbling and taking photos with DSLRs of every car passing by. And I think that would generally register as strange and somewhat alarming to people if that actually were the case.
And isn't it true that there's been some misuse of this, what you say is a search, that police are able to use, that some of them have been using it to stalk their former lovers, and they've been caught misusing this AI for their, what are the guardrails around these searches that these police officers are doing?
Well, because many of those cases have been exposed recently, there are, I guess, some guardrails now. I think one of which the company introduced within the last 24 hours, which is they have got an AI audit tool, which basically looks for kind of suspicious search activity. And now that is mandatory. I think you need to have that running on your system. But for a while, and sort of difficult to fully ascertain, if you can still kind of do this, but you could basically put in a placeholder reason for the search, which was often like test or investigation, which gave you kind of no kind of qualitative understanding of why the search was being conducted. And that gave cover for just personal use of Flock searches. And as you mentioned, there's been a lot of cases exposed recently of officers use this to follow romantic interests. And there are even 2 cases in Houston and some of the southern suburbs where officers were found to be, at least in, I think one of those cases, following a coworker. So there is some truth to these, and at least enough truth that the company responded and introduced a tool to try and clamp down on illicit use.
I want to remind everyone we're talking with Sam Shaw, who's the government growth reporter for the Waco Bridge, and we're talking about those Flock cameras. You can give us a call, 713-440-8870. Rod is on the phone right now from the Heights. Rod, what's on your mind?
Oh, yeah. Hey, great. I was at an appointment. I just jumped on the show. Yeah. Hey, I know there's Conroe, I think city council is making some kind of decision up there about the use of these cameras. And I think that it's a real nuanced issue. Mm-hmm. It should never be decided by referendum. It needs to be decided, if it comes up in Houston, by city council. I am generally in favor of these cameras. I think that the issue, I think there's a couple of issues. One is, do you deploy them everywhere, or do you deploy them in a high crime area? We have all these illegal dump sites. Maybe we ought to deploy them there. That's kind of one issue, is where do you deploy it, specific locations or everywhere? I think a general comment that I'd make generally about folks in the U.S. is they're really big on rights, like the privacy right, but they're not so big on responsibilities. I have my rights. I really, everyone else be damned. Well, it seems to me as a citizen, I think I have a responsibility that that we keep crime down. So it's kind of a balancing issue. Anyway,
Rod,
those are my comments.
Rod, thank you. We'll get some answers for you. My understanding, Sam, is that, any organization that buys their cameras or subscribes to their service can put them where they want in public. Is that right?
Yeah.
And also, if you can follow up on what Chris just asked. What Rod just asked.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can put them wherever you want on your property. I'm, not an attorney, so I'm sure there are some, legal guardrails that probably are similar to, where you can point a camera in general. But yes, if you're an HOA, Home Depot, any one of the different private users, you can put them where you'd like. Though the ability of you to search and share the camera data is more limited compared to a law enforcement agency, so they're not quite like for like. And as far as where the cameras are located, I think that's a really interesting discussion to have, particularly with the Houston audience, because I think our most recent count in Houston is about 3,800 cameras. That was from 2024, which would mean that at that time, Houston would have had the most cameras in the United States. And if that's still a current number, Houston would account for about a quarter of all flock cameras in the state of Texas.
Wow.
So they're in a place like Houston, they're in a lot of different places. But the pattern you see in most other Texas cities is kind of these points of entry into cities. So it's kind of serving more of a screening function where, people enter, and whether, if their license plates associated with a crime, then officers say they'll follow up. But at least where I am in Central Texas, one of the police chiefs, they told me that they're not interested in seeing who's going to the pharmacy or, where you pick your kids up from school, this kind of thing. They're more interested in making sure people with criminal intent or suspected of a crime don't enter the city or can be pursued if they do.
Do we have examples of ICE either subpoenaing or requesting information? Is anything happening in that regard, and should we be concerned? Is ICE deploying flock cameras?
According to Flock, ICE does not have a contract with Flock. That hasn't really stopped immigration enforcement agencies from using the data. And one way that we've seen this happen a lot, particularly in Texas, is it's sort of related to what I was talking about earlier with this weak link problem, where you can just have a local PD, in some cases like a Netflix password, just kind of share their credentials or do searches on behalf of ICE or Border Patrol. And then we've seen the state police, DPS, which has its own network of cameras all over the place. They have also done immigration-related searches too. So yes, we have seen quite a lot of immigration-related flock searches.
We've got a bunch of calls holding on, so let's move through those quickly. It's 713-440-8870. Chris from Pearland is up first. Chris, what's on your mind?
Hi, I'm just curious. It's one thing to identify when crimes have taken place in the past or still are under investigation, but I'm concerned about, not concerned, but curious about how you keep from taking people's behavior and their patterns, and when a crime does happen, looking at those patterns and then roping innocent citizens into investigation.
Chris, thank you very much for your comment. I'm going to move on to Carol quickly from Pasadena. Carol, what's on your mind?
My primary concern is privacy. Data, information is money. And I really don't trust. I'm concerned about the shareability of this and the guardrails that y'all have been discussing. I really don't trust human beings to not use this inappropriately. Thanks.
Yeah. Carol, thank you for your call. Sam, your reactions to Chris or Carol's comments?
Yeah, well, Carol's not alone. A lot of Texans, a lot of Americans aren't, what do we say, chuffed about
we are not
what they
chuffed.
perceive as invasions of privacy and generally have concerns about, how robust the guardrails are with these systems. As for the first question, I think that really hits on maybe something that y'all want to talk about, but did signpost at the beginning of the conversation, which is like why the cameras are being attacked. And I do feel like there is a broader backlash to the sense that data is being captured and collected kind of at all levels through your, targeted advertising, social media. It connects to this data center question too, maybe not materially, but in people's minds. And that's one thing I noticed when I talk to a lot of people who are active on this issue is this more overarching concern with just adding another funnel for tracking citizen information or data in these kinds of ways.
Yes, it feels very Orwellian.
Yes. We're going to grab one more call at 713-440-8870. It is Sully from Sharpstown. Sully, what's on your mind?
I keep hearing from the people in defense of flock cameras that they can help find criminals, they can help stop crime, they can help with so many good things. But I keep wondering how come all the stories I hear are about abuse. And I've never heard a story about how the cops used a flock camera image to solve a crime.
Sully, thank you for that. We also had a comment that came in that wanted to know how many times the FBI have found someone using flock cameras. So I guess it falls right into the same question. Sam, I'll let you wrap up the interview by responding to that.
Yeah, I don't have an answer about the FBI, but according to Flock, it helped solve 10,000 missing person cases last year. And they say that they've helped support 1 million investigations through 2025. I haven't, independently validated that, but here locally in McLennan County, where I am, that's where Waco is, we have heard from police chiefs about, helping solve domestic violence cases, missing persons as well, and helping with some track down some criminals or suspected criminals in more serious crimes where they came in from another jurisdiction, were detected by a camera here, and the officers were able to follow up on it. So there are examples. I think the cases of the failures are resonant because of the last point I mentioned, where it kind of fits into this broader tapestry of concern over surveillance. And two, because the Texas build out of the camera network has happened so quickly that it is validating some of those feelings that for a while didn't really have any content to them, right? We didn't know a lot about how the cameras were used, and suddenly we're starting to know quite a bit about it. Yeah. So I think that's why we're hearing a lot about the failure cases, but there are also plenty of success cases, and these two things are related, right? Like the reason why it's a concern for privacy advocates is also why the system is really effective at solving certain crimes. And so these things are difficult to decouple.
Sam, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is probably not the last time we're going to be talking about flock cameras. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam Shaw is a government growth reporter at Waco Bridge. Coming up, DIY furniture restoration with Houston's Briana Byrd. Stay with us.
Meet Damola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Damola to learn more about his ride.
Or a Michelin star restaurant, it's all about the practices.
Is your food really safe to eat? That's coming up this week on Mill Street Radio from PRX.
You can hear that Sunday at 1 p.m.
A TV thriller about a troubled FBI agent hunting a childlike but manipulative serial killer hunting the powerful men from her past. It's dark, but can it be funny?
I was worried about this show from the beginning to the end. Nothing about it felt safe or comfortable to me.
Liz Merriweather on her show Furious, Saturday on Weekend Edition from NPR News.
It's tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock.
Feeling a bit stuck in your journey through the world? This week on It's Been a Minute, how to take a real-life side quest to enrich your life and get out of the rut of your routine.
And on Wildcard, author Suleika Jawad on having cancer.
Having cancer does not mean you're brave, but what you choose to do in the midst of navigating that illness can be brave.
That's on Wildcard, and It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Listen tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Rebekah Dahl.
A thrift store find, family heirloom, or curbside treasure can often get a second life with a little creativity and elbow grease. But how do you know which pieces are worth saving, and where do you start? Houston entrepreneur Briana Byrd has made a business out of answering those questions. As the owner of Taff Vintage Furniture, she restores and reimagines vintage pieces while helping others see their potential. She joins us to share DIY restoration tips, common mistakes, and how to turn forgotten furniture into something beautiful. Briana, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you both for having me here. I'm thrilled to be here.
Okay, so where did this love of repurposing older pieces come from?
It came from one find in a thrift store in 2021.
Wow, I didn't expect you to be so specific in your answer.
On an August day.
She had an epiphany.
It literally, that's how it happened. So I was in a thrift store with my mom. It was, COVID restrictions were starting to lighten up. And I found this dresser that I fell in love with. It was stunning to me. And so I looked at it and I was like, Mom, what do you think of this piece? And she was like, well, that looks like that 70s junk furniture made with particle board.
How dare she, mid-century?
Right? And so I started looking it up because it had a name on it. And it turns out it's this piece that's, it's solid wood with this Mindoro exotic wood on it. It's worth between $2,000 and $4,000. And I was like, well, I'm in love with it. So
How
I
much
showed
was
her.
it for?
It was for $60 or
Oh,
50,
I love
one of the two,
that
but I think it was
for
60.
you.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So you showed it to your mom.
And she grabbed the sticker off of it and she said, "Are you ready to check out?" And so we went and bought it. So then we brought it to a furniture refinisher, not me, and they quoted over $1,000 to refinish it. And I was in college at the time. I couldn't afford it. So I was like, well, how hard can it be? So I started learning. I didn't start learning on that piece, mind you. I picked up some other pieces and learned.
Smart.
Yep, and then that's how it got to how it is today.
Wow, that's a great story. I always say there's so much when we talk about particle board and all of that cheap, like you think about fast fashion, and there's fast furniture out there too, and people buy it from a lot of stores. But if you go to a thrift store for basically the same price or a lot less, you can find these things made of solid wood that have life in them and history. And that the style, either restoring it to what it looked like or adapting it to your current lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to, when you've worked on these pieces like I have, seeing the difference in 50 to 70 years of craftsmanship, it's incredible.
Well, I think the easiest way to look at it is look at the buildings we build today and look at the buildings we built at the turn of the last century. when they were ornate and they still last and they were done. And now we do boxes.
Yes.
And I think the same is true in furniture and in all the stuff that we produce. Or the other one that I always like to joke with my friends about is how quickly things today break.
Yes.
And how you had things when you were growing up that lasted the whole time.
Oh, absolutely.
And so there is quality out there. How do you know, though, that what you're looking at is worth it?
Oh man, I feel like you just know. It's like when you know.
Yeah.
You feel it. The first thing is it's heavy. It's much heavier than IKEA for nowadays or Wayfair or whatever. You can look at the drawers on a dresser and you can see that they're dovetailed. They're not just stapled together or nailed together. You can see that there's actual chips in the wood. There's flaws, but it's not, there's like, I know nowadays there's furniture where there's a foil on top of particle board and you'll see that foil peel off and it's not even wood. It's not even laminate. Laminate's better than that. It's foil.
Yeah.
So you learn over time the materials and what they feel like to the touch, how they feel to the weight and stuff like that.
My problem is that people like you have made this popular. And now where I used to go and get something for $10 or $20 is $50, $60, $70. What's the hint to finding the good bargains?
So I would say the bargains haven't disappeared. It's the pieces that I get are pieces that have sat for sale or sat on the side of the road that no one wants to put the work into. And unfortunately, furniture refinishing, it's a bit of a dying trade, I would say. I think there's a rejuvenation in the last couple years, thank goodness. But it's buying those pieces that no one else wants to deal with because they were painted a whitewash gray. And now no one wants to reveal that wood that was underneath and face those issues.
Do you do all your refinishing yourself now?
I do.
Yeah. How hard is it to learn that part of it?
It's not hard.
Really?
It's not hard.
See, it was Christmas night, I think. My mom and I were driving in my car many, many years ago, and we drove by, and sitting on the corner was a wingback chair and the ottoman that went with it. And we drove past it, and we're like, let's go back. And we circled back around. I was like, let's take it. We tossed it in the back of my car, brought it home, let it sit for a little bit, made sure it was cleaned out, sprayed it, did everything we needed to do. She still has that chair in her bedroom today. It is fabulous. It has lasted beyond everything else, you know, and it was a beautiful piece that someone had just discarded. How much of what you find are just these discards from people's life?
It's a lot. I mean, some of it is free on the curb, right? And I'll have seen it on the curb. Like there's this one house near where I live that had a lot of furniture on the curb that no one was picking up. People were driving by. It was on a busy street. No one was picking up. No one wanted to deal with it. So it's curb finds. It's pieces that have been on, Facebook Marketplace that are painted that people no one wants to deal with. No one likes how they may have updated it with new poles or paint or whatever. So...
And you're not into painting.
No.
Like, we don't want it painted.
That's not my
The
market.
wood is what makes it beautiful. I'm with you. My dad was a bricklayer, and he cannot stand it when a house the brick has been painted white or something. It drives him absolutely nuts. I mean, the beauty is in the actual wood,
It is.
I agree with that. So you strip the paint off if it's been painted.
Yes.
And then you get to discover the treasure.
Yeah.
Underneath.
Well, sometimes it's not a treasure underneath. Sometimes it's a lot of issues.
It's a mess.
But how my philosophy is everything is fixable. So it's like, I know some people will see like a small chip and they'll go paint the whole piece white. And I'm like, okay, I can't do that. But, kudos to those who can. But I think everything's fixable. Even if the whole sheet of veneer or whole side or whatever, you can replace that veneer. You can go in and stain it, and it's going to look just like it did when it came out of the factory 70 years ago.
Are there good fixes for holes, chips, pieces missing? Like, I always think, what do you do? And I know this is probably very obvious to people who do this work, but not to me.
Yeah.
To fill it so that it ends up looking the same as everything else.
Yeah. Oh, there's so
What
many
do you
fixes.
use?
There's a couple different fixes. You can get wood filler and then stain it, and that's just stuff you can buy at Lowe's. You can get a wax filler, and then you can fill it. You can fill it with Bondo, and then you can paint it. So I've done that sometimes. And if you're somewhat decent at painting, you don't have to be that good. You can paint it to match the wood, and then you can paint some little black specks to imitate the wood grain. And no one will ever know the difference.
Do you work on commission, or like how do you help people? Because I have some mid-century pieces. I really do, that my dog has chewed up. I have a mid-century coffee table that's beautiful that my dog has chewed little,
I do.
chips in the side. I need to get your number before we
Okay.
leave today.
I'm happy we can hook you two up today here. Tell me a little bit about the your entity, TAF.
So TAF Vintage, so when I think of TAF Vintage, let me tell you what I think of. So to tell you a little bit more about myself. So I like to say it's green by day, green by night. And what I mean by that is my green by day is this is not my full-time job. I'm an engineer by trade. I'm an operations engineer at a geothermal energy company. I know how things work mechanically. I'm very mechanically minded. And so and the startup, it's really interesting. It started in 2021. This is the company I work at. And I've learned so much from it that I've been able to apply to the small business, but also vice versa, which has been really interesting. TAF Vintage, this is my green by night, is keeping stuff out of the landfill. But it's more than just keeping stuff out of the landfill. I want to take someone's piece that may have sat in their garage for the last 10 years and they're using it as storage, take it, refinish it, rejuvenate it, fix the issues, and put it as someone else's showroom piece.
Briana Byrd, owner of TAF Vintage Furniture. Thank you for joining us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Hello Houston after the top of the hour.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. With over 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
You can watch Hello Houston on HPM Plus, free to download for smart TVs. Hot today, the high getting up to 95, slight chance of rain, it is 90. And this is your NPR station, KUHF. Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, 4 HISD schools have received F ratings a year after there were no failing campuses. HPM reporter Bianca Seward will join us to discuss. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Rebekah Dahl. What happens when a Houston movie programmer turns Texas into werewolf country? River Oaks Theater Artistic Director Rob Saucedo joins us to talk monsters, movies, and his new graphic novel, Curse of the Werewolf.
Plus, it's Friday, so that could only mean one thing: last-minute plans. We'll share some notable events happening in and around the area this weekend, and we invite you to share yours. Maybe it's something you're attending, something you're organizing, or just something you think we should all be aware of.
That's right. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Luigi Mangione has pleaded guilty to federal stalking charges in a New York courtroom today, connected to the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. NPR's Brian Mann was in the courtroom and has more.
Speaking in federal court, Luigi Mangione told the judge, "I knew what I was doing." He said, "I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan and he died." When the judge asked Luigi Mangione how he pleaded, Mangione said guilty. Sentencing in this case is now set for December. According to the judge, the prosecution has recommended a sentence that would be more than 20 years behind bars, but the judge said repeatedly that the exact penalty that she hands down could be very different.
NPR's Brian Mann reporting from New York. Federal regulators have opened a probe into so-called mention markets. As NPR's Bobby Allen reports, it's a type of prediction market, betting that allows people to wager on words spoken by the president, executives, and sportscasters during live and even sometimes pre-recorded events.
Mention markets have surged in popularity on sites like Kalshi and Polymarket, despite critics who say the markets are easy to rig. Now the Commodity Futures Trading Commission has opened a review of this type of betting, as regulators determine if the markets are susceptible to manipulation. That's according to two sources with direct knowledge of the probe who were not authorized to speak publicly. In response, Kalshi has removed all mention markets for sports, where people were able to bet on whether a sportscaster would say things like MVP or jump shot or overtime. The new review follows the revelation that President Trump's teleprompter operator had been profiting off the president's words on Kalshi. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
Nigel Farage has regained his seat in the UK's parliament, beating fringe candidates led by a trash can-wearing comet in a special election. Farage is the leader of the Anti-Immigration Reform UK party and abruptly quit his seat last month amid an investigation into whether he failed to report a $6.7 million gift from an international crypto billionaire. He has denied any wrongdoing. Retail sales fell more than forecasters expected last month, and Pierre Scott Horsley reports.
Retail sales fell by 0.6% last month as consumers dialed back their spending on both cars and appliances. Internet sales also fell during July, partly because Amazon moved its Prime Day promotion up into June this year. Spending was also down at gas stations and grocery stores, which was mainly the result of lower prices. Spending at restaurants and clothing stores rose last month. Oil prices are mixed after two tankers from the United Arab Emirates were attacked while trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz. Retail gasoline prices showed little change overnight.
And Pierre Scott Horsley reporting. Wall Street is trading lower at this hour. You're listening to NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Harris County randomly selected for a state-led audit of the county's election operations. News 88.7's Sarah Gruno reports.
Since 2021, the Office of the Texas Secretary of State has conducted comprehensive audits of counties selected through a randomized biannual draw. On Tuesday, Harris County was selected through that process for a second time. The state previously audited Harris County's election operations in 2022, leading to state inspectors being deployed to monitor the county's 2024 general election. That audit found that at least 19 polling locations across Harris County experienced delays due to a shortage of ballot paper during the November 2022 election. It's the first state audit to be conducted on Harris County since County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth assumed control of local elections. I'm Sarah Gruno, News 88.7.
A roughly 20% spike in new student enrollment in Waller ISD has created a backlog in the registrar's office. Though the school year started on Tuesday, the district still has more than 300 applications to go through. Sarah Marcus is the Chief Communications Officer for the district. She calls it an all-hands-on-deck situation.
It's hard and we wish we could get through it faster, but we are working through it as fast as we can.
The district is telling families it may take 5 to 7 business days before they can process a new student registration. That means hundreds of students in the district are at home waiting for their enrollment to be completed before they can attend class. The 48th Annual Pride Parade takes place tomorrow in Houston. The stage, grandstand, and bar open at 5 o'clock. The event begins at 7. The starting point is the intersection of Lamar and Smith Streets. We've got a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Otherwise, it's going to be mostly sunny today with a high of 94 and a heat index of 105. Right now, partly cloudy with scattered showers on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include DuckDuckGo, who believes AI should be optional and who've been building privacy tools for 15 years. They now offer Duck.ai, where users can chat privately with AI. Duck.ai. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
And we are back with you again for the second hour on this Friday. I'm Ernie Manous, and with me in the guest host chair, the wonderful Rebekah Dahl. Hello, Rebekah.
Hello. I'm having so much fun.
Do you remember when we first met? It must have been when you were doing why was it? Masquerade Theater. Mm-hmm. Was that when we first met?
Yes, I think it was at a cast party.
Probably. Back in the day.
I could never forget the day I met you. I remember I was wearing suspenders. I had short red hair.
I don't really remember this.
We were doing Annie Get Your Gun, maybe?
Wow, you're probably right. I think the most fascinating thing about this is I always just simply loved you on stage, and I knew I had to know you. But it was that you didn't see yourself as much of as an actress as you did as a singer.
That's correct.
And I always thought that was fascinating because you are so good in character.
Thank you. I do love to act, but at Music Box, I get to play myself. We also do characters because we do sketch, so I can create real wacky characters. But I like being myself. I like singing songs that aren't necessarily Broadway. I like rock and roll and blues, and I'm a huge music fan. So I felt kind of boxed in by having to just do Broadway and having to be in these characters. So I'm really happy at Music Box doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. You've done some amazing work, and you continue to do it. But I just always remember some of those shows you were in. You just own the stage. You have the problem of being one of those people that when you're on stage, people can't help but look at you.
Aww.
And so when you're an ensemble piece or something, it's like, no, that's who we need to be looking at. And I know sometimes they would book you or cast you in roles that weren't the lead. It was like, what are you wasting her for? But when you were in companies, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, repertory companies. Yeah.
But
now there's only 5 of us, so we all get to
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
over at the Music Box Theater. And I'm happy that you're able to be with us today to share and join in. We've got a full hour coming up. If you've got weekend plans, we want to know what they are. So Last Minute Plans is coming up a little later. Start sending them to us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also give us a call or text 713-440-8870. Also, it's heading toward fall. Werewolf season is upon us. Rob Saucedo is going to be here. He has written a sequel to a hit book he had about werewolves. He'll be here to tell us all about that coming up. But first, as always, the headlines. Rebecca, take us in.
Accountability ratings rose for dozens of campuses across Houston ISD for the 2025-26 school year, according to state-appointed Superintendent Mike Miles. But he said 4 elementary schools slipped to an F rating, a slide back from a major milestone celebrated last year when the district had no failing campuses. The Texas Education Agency releases annual accountability ratings for every public school and district in that state. The ratings are largely based on student scores on the STAR test, the assessment given to children in Texas public schools each year that's being replaced next year by a series of shorter tests. 5 consecutive failing ratings can trigger a state takeover of the district, which happened in HISD in 2023 after Wheatley High School received a string of F ratings. Joining us now to discuss is HPM reporter Bianca Seward. Hi, guys.
Hello. If you've got questions, you want to jump in on this conversation, give us a call right now, 713-440-8870. Should we be alarmed?
Alarmed about the accountability ratings? Mm-hmm. Well, there's much to be celebrated. There's lots of gains in the secondary schools, but there are 4 the elementary schools that did slip. And I think it's something to watch for in that we're under the takeover, and because of those failings, that's how we entered here. So I think a lot of questions and concerns arose about what these failing campuses might mean. It was a major milestone for last year's Superintendent Mike Miles to celebrate no failing campuses, and to now see them slide back into that position is worrisome, but not... you have to hit multi-year failings in order to continue the takeover. So while Commissioner Mike Morath is still making the decision as to whether to extend the takeover or begin exiting in June 2027, these 4 campuses failing this year doesn't necessarily mean we won't be exiting in June.
The skeptic in me, the conspiracy theorist in me can't help but think, maybe if we sprinkle in a few failing grades, we can continue to keep control of the schools.
Well, I don't know much about conspiracy theories, but I do
know. Lots about them. Come join me. But
I'll leave them to you.
From a news point of view.
I mean, I think that accountability ratings go every year. Every public campus gets one, and they're largely based on those STAR scores, as you just mentioned. And so it's difficult to see how the schools are fully assessed. When I talk to education experts, they say that, keeping it mostly to just test scores really offers a narrow window as to how successful the students really are, if they're learning, how successful the school is. And STAR scores, or STAR tests, are deeply unpopular in the state. Like you mentioned also, they're being changed next year. So it's difficult to kind of align poor test scores with the poor accountability ratings, and if that really tells us how good our schools are performing.
I guess another part of that is how we evaluate them and what's on the tests. So once again, back to my skeptic hat again, that you can adjust in ways that may give you a better outcome, or adjust how you interpret the data to give you a better outcome or not. Do we feel like we are getting at least an honest representation of what has been done in the past, that we're keeping it on the same playing field? Or have we seen shifts in what we're evaluating and how we're evaluating to improve our scores?
Yeah, well, critics of the STAR scores and the TEA at large would say that the the assessments change all the time. They cater to the students. They want to see the higher test scores. Those are the critics of the district and the TEA at large. But people who are excited about the STAR scores or they say a value in the scores, believe that the assessments need to evolve over time and need to kind of develop with the kids and what we find to be prioritizing in a kid's education. So it's really kind of an ongoing debate as to whether the test assessments should stay the same year to year. Should they evolve over time? How should we stay in line with this ever-changing education landscape? So it's ongoing.
Let's talk about the F-rated schools. What caused? Are they looking at what that means? And I know that's kind of a vague way of asking it, but okay, if you've had these successes and all of a sudden you have 5 schools that are slipping back, are they able to pinpoint things that they think led to these declines?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were able to ask Miles yesterday at a press conference. I kind of pressured him on what they learned, what kind of conversations they were having with these campuses about the slip. he gave minimal details. He said there's many things that can impact a campus and its success in STAR scores and its accountability ratings. He did mention that the campuses that had slipped to failing were on the lower end already. These are a couple of D campuses, a C campus that had slipped into that failure rating. So we don't have a lot of details quite yet as to what exactly happened at these 4 campuses, but we'll be asking those questions. We'll be reaching out to parents to say what their experience was. We'll be asking their students. We'll have to do a lot of diving to figure out exactly how these schools went backwards.
And I'm also curious, was more attention put on schools that were in C's and D's to try and move them forward, or were they ignored and therefore they slipped back?
No, there's been a large concerted effort by the district at large and with leadership to focus on these D and F rated schools. I mean, making it to 0 F campuses was a real point of pride for Mike Miles last year. And there was the Houston Promise, which focused and partnered those D campuses with organizations to help them get more donations, help them get more funding, help them get more help, to celebrate their wins when they could, to kind of encourage the students to keep moving forward, marching forward on this path towards an A or B rating, which is the larger goal from the district. So there has been quite a focus, and these schools that were already lower rated D and C are in the NES program, the new education system. That is a tailored education that's very regimented, designed largely by Miles and implemented by Miles during the first year of his takeover. So there's been a lot of focus on these campuses already.
Oh, that's interesting and concerning, I would think, that so much attention is on these campuses and yet they still slipped back. I could see if you were a B school and people weren't paying attention to you and you slipped down to a C or, God forbid, a D. But to be a lower end school and then to drop there, it's like, what's going on
It's
here?
definitely alarming when any campus starts to slip in the ratings. We definitely want to take a look at what's going on. But again, there are so many variables and impacts that could be, changing landscape. The kids are changing year to year. The curriculums are changing. So something to watch out for sure.
I am also curious, and there's been a lot of successes. If you follow these ways of evaluating these schools, we've had a lot of good successes in moving our schools up following this criteria. I'm curious, are they tracking students after they graduate? So it's been a number of years now Mike Miles has been here. We do know students have gone on and what they've done. Is anyone tracking them to see, did they go into, if they went to colleges or university, were they successful? Did our school system push out into the marketplace, so to speak, better educated children?
There are a couple of independent studies from other organizations outside of HISD and some that partner with HISD to try to understand where these kids go after they leave the public school system. And you'll start to see that the HISD has kind of made some changes in an effort to continue pushing these kids into that higher education. They've just partnered with UH Downtown to make essentially applying and enrolling in UH Downtown seamless if you have a certain GPA at an HISD school. So they're looking to see how these kids do fare in the future, and success at the higher education level does seem to be an important factor for HISD to determine its own success.
Yeah. We are talking to Bianca Seward, who is here to talk about what is going on with HISD. There is a story that I'm gonna pull you out of this stuff into something else right now, because it's just kind of fascinating, and it's kind of a social media thing that kind of caught on. I saw the video, and I don't follow education things on my personal accounts. All of a sudden I see this video that's getting a lot of traction. What have I been watching, and what should we take from it?
Yeah, there is a clip from a man named Darius Williams, who is a first-year teacher at Wheatley High School. And in the clip, he's incredibly emotional and breaks down over the lack of reading and writing skills of his senior students. He explains having given them what he describes as quite a simple assignment: read a couple paragraphs, complete a sentence. And he says they weren't able to complete the work. The video immediately went viral online. It's garnered almost 5 million views right now. The teacher himself had previously had other ventures as an online kind of celebrity chef, so he had quite the platform when he put this out there in the public. I went this morning to Wheatley to talk to the kids and ask them how they felt about the video going viral, and if they felt that their students couldn't read and write. And a lot of kids pushed back on the claims. They said they can read and write. There are some kids that struggle more. Others acknowledge that they had friends that were not performing at grade level. What I can say was consensus across the board is all of them were disappointed and disagreed with the way that Mr. Williams, a teacher, decided to broadcast the concern. Some expressed feelings of embarrassment, of frustration, of concern that this would exacerbate the issue with the students by shaming them instead of helping them get the support they needed. One junior did tell me she hopes it highlights what needs to be done left at Wheatley. What I found interesting is when I asked Superintendent Miles about this yesterday, is he was incredibly blunt. He actually told reporters yesterday, is this new information? We know that there are 11th and 12th graders that cannot read, and it was worse pre-takeover is what he says. So, the district is not shying away from the video, kind of tackling it head on and acknowledging it's a reality for some students.
Does this put his job in jeopardy?
I was just
going to
ask that.
Should you be exploiting your classroom for hits? I mean, in one way, I love the fact that it shines a light on the fact that we have an issue with, and as I understood from the video, these are senior students who could not fill in 4 blanks in a sentence. He wasn't exactly clear on exactly what the task was, or at least I wasn't figuring out from what he was saying. So I couldn't quite grasp why they couldn't finish it, because he did say they had the answers, they knew what it was. But I would think he could be in danger of losing his position, because he shouldn't, I don't think, be doing it this way.
Yeah, a couple of points to what you just said right there about if the students were actually able to complete the assignment or not. The HISD does say it's the first week of school. Kids are getting acclimated. They're getting new to a teacher. He's a new teacher himself to the district. So there's lots of questions about what actually happened in the classroom. And then separately, we've kind of tackled this issue from another angle about what teachers are allowed to post and say online. They have First Amendment rights, and we've tackled this before. It came up last year during the Charlie Kirk when he was assassinated, teachers speaking out and then getting fired for rhetoric, discourse that the public school districts did not care for. It's a very tricky line, I'll tell you. I mean, a lot of my sources end up being teachers, and they're very scared to speak out against the district or speak out at all without permission, express permission from their principals, from leadership at the district. So we will be watching to see if there's any removal of Williams from the classroom or if he's reprimanded in any way, because it's garnered so much attention. Right. But it is his right, his First Amendment right, to speak freely. He didn't involve any kids' names in the video, and he didn't show any kids in the videos. Those would be 2 things that would be major red flags to violating their rights as minors. So we'll have to watch to see how HISD tackles this. I am actually set in an hour to go to Wheatley High School to see Superintendent Mike Miles celebrate their A rating. So that's kind of an odd week for the school. They're going viral for allegedly not being able to read and write, or some students, and then also celebrating an A accountability rating from the TEA, their first ever. So it's an interesting time at Wheatley for sure.
And one other caveat for all of that is the fact, as we always talk about, especially during campaign time, it's always important you know who you get your information from and you know who your sources are. And there may be some area of questioning motivation and such behind this messenger of this information.
I think that's come up in the comments for sure online. Millions of people have watched this video, and because Darius Williams was previously an online personality before, some ventures of his past businesses have come to light, and we were able to confirm about a couple of ventures in Georgia that ended in settlements with the Attorney General's office, repayment to customers that never received goods. So you can go online at HoustonPublicMedia.org to learn a little bit more about some of his past dealings that were a big point of concern in the comment section for his video.
But regardless of all of that, it is important that our graduating seniors can read and write, and if attention has to be brought to the fact that maybe some are not performing up to that, I'm hoping that it's not the majority. I'm hoping they're isolated cases, as it would be in any school, but it's something we should be aware of.
Absolutely. And I think it's always important to renew the debate about, or not debate, but conversation about literacy rates across the nation, which are not great among high schoolers. There was one study that I was reading earlier from a national education organization that alleged only 35% of high school students were reading on grade level.
I think it's the texting. I mean, autocorrect. We don't have to learn how to spell.
Yeah.
I remember my son's first grade teacher. I said, "Are you concerned about his spelling?" when we had our first meeting. And she said, "No, the kids don't need to know how to spell." She literally said that to me, and that was public school.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, my son needs to know how to spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those fundamentals of reading will always serve us regardless of whether we have spell check or, who knows what happens in with the AI generative chat tools. These are fundamentals that education experts just really say over and over again how important it is to instill in our students. And actually they say that if there are issues of reading at the high school level, intervention really needs to happen before the 3rd grade. The 3rd grade is when they make that transition from learning to read to reading to learn. And if they aren't reading at grade level at 3rd grade, it's incredibly difficult for them to catch up. They struggle for years to come.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bianca, as always, thank you for coming in and sharing with us your intrepid reporting. And when it comes to education, you're who we turn to. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bianca
you guys for having me.
Seward is our education reporter right here, along with a lot of other stuff. They give you a lot to report on here at HBR.
We're a small but scrappy newsroom.
It's great to have you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. Werewolf, their wolf. Coming up, we're going to talk about werewolves on Hello Houston here on News 88.7.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
So are the midterms about progressives versus establishment Democrats or about anti-incumbency? Nothing's that simple with our politics, but we know how all voters want change. And change looks dramatically different depending on where you are in the country and where you are on the political spectrum. We'll talk about that and other lessons from the latest primaries. I'm David Green. Join Moa Lathy, Jonah Goldberg, and me for Left, Right, and Center.
You can listen to Left, Right, and Center. It's Sunday at 5 p.m.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe. R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul. Music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Foster LLP, delivering immigration legal services tailored for the employer's size, location, and industry. More at fosterglobal.com. U.S. and Global Immigration Services.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Rebekah Dahl.
Well, Halloween may be 2 months away, but this month, Houston's River Oaks Theater will be home to one of cinema's favorite monsters, the werewolf. This is due to the release of Curse of the Werewolf, W-H-E-R-E, a new graphic novel by River Oaks Theater's artistic director, Rob Saucedo, which serves as the second installment of his Werewolf series. To celebrate the release of his new graphic novel, Saucedo is hosting screenings of famous werewolf movies at River Oaks Theater, one of which will take place tonight. Yeah. To tell us more about these screenings, Curse of the Werewolf, and his work as the theater's artistic director, please welcome Rob Saucedo. Rob, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay, so first of all, how do you say the name of the book?
It's Werewolf, but yeah, it's the worst possible title I could have picked because when you tell somebody over the radio or just vocally, yeah, you know, they're going to mishear you and type it in wrong when they go to search for it on Amazon or wherever they buy books.
And I'm always worried how heavily I'm hitting
Where and
yes.
when.
Yes, but I still love the idea and I love the name of it. I can't help but think there's a big werewolf movie coming very soon. Werewolf, spelled another weird way,
Yes.
W-E-R-W-U-L-F. And that is Robert Eggers' new Christmas Day movie, which is kind of crazy.
Well, he had a great success with Nosferatu on Christmas Day a couple of years ago.
It's so weird that we're making Christmas now spook
Making
night.
Christmas dark.
But so werewolves are back.
They're having their year this year, and it's great. I as a werewolf author myself, I highly appreciate another Robert, getting the word out.
Yeah, that can only, rising tide lifts all ships.
Exactly.
So that's wonderful.
Lifts all Roberts.
Yes. Okay, this is a sequel.
Yes.
Catch me up on what happened in the first one.
So the first book was a COVID project. I had free time for the first time in my adult life during COVID, and I had always wanted to write a comic book, so I wrote a graphic novel. It's about a reporter from College Station, Texas, who has to go undercover at a furry convention to stop a werewolf from eating all the attendees. Very much a comedy. Set here in Texas.
It sounds very serious.
It's great.
But for the sequel, I wanted to keep the story going. So it's the same characters. College Station setting, but also we take the action to San Antonio. There's a big chase scene on the Riverwalk. There's a cameo from Marvin Zindler. It's a lot of Texas lore put into this book.
How come not Houston?
I'm building up to Houston.
Okay.
Every book I want to set in a different Texas city.
Oh, okay.
And so for the second book, I brought it to San Antonio. The third book it will be set in Austin. And for the fourth book, the final book, I would want to set in here in Houston.
So do you have mapped out what's going to happen in them at this point, or not really?
Rough ideas for the third and fourth book, where I would like to take the series. But I'm going to take a break after this one, work on some other projects that are lycanthropy related. But eventually I will get back to Werewolf, the series, and work on the third and fourth books.
Where can we buy this graphic novel, Rob?
So we'll have copies for sale at the River Oaks Theater tonight and next Friday. But you can also order from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Brazos Bookstore, and other independent bookstores.
Okay, so take me back. Your love of werewolves started where?
So I was a kid, and I used to go to the library and check out this book called Meet the Werewolf. It was in the kids section. It was like a nonfiction book, but nonfiction with quotation marks. But it was all about werewolves and the lore of werewolves and how to become a werewolf. And in the book, it said you could become a werewolf by drinking water out of a wolf's paw print. So I went to the playground and found a dog's paw print with some water in it.
Oh,
and I took a little lick of that.
No, you didn't.
I did. I didn't become a werewolf, but I also didn't get sick.
But
so
you didn't get E. coli.
Yeah.
So on like a full moon, do you turn into a dog?
Yes. No. But I think there's always been something fascinating to me about werewolves. As a kid, I just liked the way they looked and they were scary. But as an adult, what werewolves have come to represent is like this kind of addiction, personality disorder. I have an addictive personality. Alcoholism runs in my family. I've always avoided liquor because of that. But for me, werewolves represent what happens when you let yourself into that addiction. Mm-hmm. When you black out and you wake up and you've done something incredibly wrong and you don't know what you've done, but you're in deep doo-doo because of it. I've always appreciated that kind of sentiment and that idea and that ability, that the desire to change yourself and become a better person, but also the desire to not change and become a monster. And so werewolves have this really deep philosophical core to them that I don't think a lot of people give them credit for, and I wanted to explore that in a comic book, in a funny book.
Yeah. Okay. This is an Ernie Manous name dropping moment. So
get it.
I was talking with Anne Rice about vampires.
Oh my
there you go. There's the name dropping moment.
There it is.
She said one of the big challenges in creating her whole world and landscape was going back and understanding the lore of vampires and then figuring out what she was carrying forward in that. For you with werewolves, is there still the silver bullet does it? Is it the full moon? Or do you redefine what the werewolf lore is?
Well, my favorite thing about werewolves is that so much of what we know about werewolves was made up by Hollywood, 60 or 70 years ago. Silver Bullets is a relatively recent addition to the lore, as is, turning into a werewolf on the full moon. So much of werewolf mythology is relatively modern, and that means you could just do whatever you want with werewolves. To me, a good werewolf movie is something that introduces something new to the genre, new to the concept. And so when I wanted to approach the werewolf mythology, I wanted to add something new to that as well. So I do have the silver bullets aspect of it, but here in modern day, Texas, where do you find silver bullets? And so I have the character trying to kill a werewolf with a silver-lined baseball bat and silverware that he found at a department store. He goes shopping for silver at Walmart as opposed to trying to find silver bullets. But I also introduced the idea that in order to become a werewolf, it's not as simple as being bitten by a werewolf, which is what modern werewolf lore suggests. But in my books, you become a werewolf by killing a werewolf. And so the curse of the werewolf is the hero from the first book who's successfully killed the werewolf in the first book. But
Spoiler alert.
But now finds himself cursed with becoming a werewolf. And so the second book is all about him trying to, deal with his own curse now that he thought he was going to be a hero. He thought he had saved the day, but now he's become a monster.
So, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, excuse me for not knowing this, but in the first book then, does he know if killing the werewolf is going to make it, or is that, did you add that? And did you know that when writing the first book?
I knew that that was always the North Star I was guiding myself towards, because I knew I wanted to write a longer series about a reporter who's also a werewolf. That was like the series I wanted to tackle. But my whole idea was, well, how do I turn a reporter into a werewolf? I have to make that happen first. And so I thought, okay, well, I can go the whole idea of he gets bitten and becomes a werewolf. But I think it's a lot more fascinating to explore the idea of yes, unintended consequences. Your actions do have consequences. He try to be a hero, and he did it in a very selfish way. And his reward / punishment is that he is now the werewolf himself. And so I think that just offers up a lot of rich, a lot of rich drama to the story.
But also a big challenge. How do you get rid of werewolves if you're the one who kills them, you become one?
Well, that's exactly the point. Not only is he himself desiring to rid himself of the curse, but he can't, let anybody kill him, because then he'll pass on the curse to somebody else.
Yeah.
And the sequels write themselves, as you might say.
Oh, that's always good when you've got a storyline that can do that and help you move forward with it. I want to talk movies.
Yeah.
Want to talk some movies?
Yes,
Okay, we've all got
always.
our favorites. Mine probably would have to be An American Werewolf in London. That was, I came up in that time, so that's your kind of. And I think it's probably wherever you came into them.
Of course.
There's the Lon Chaney's. There's all of that kind of richer, older view of what for you is the movie.
So, An American Werewolf in London is, I think, the perfect werewolf movie. There's absolutely no fat to the movie. It's very propulsive. I think it's about 90 minutes long and never slows down. It has everything I look for in a werewolf movie. There has to be some scary monsters in it, of course, and American Werewolf in London has a really scary werewolf and an incredible transformation scene. There has to be...
It even is cool today. You would think all these years later, was it 30, 40 years since
John
they
Landis.
did it?
Yeah, I think it's still the highlight. I don't think any movie since has surpassed it. But the other essential ingredients, I think, to a good werewolf movie are you have to have a little comedy, and I think American Werewolf in London is very funny, and there has to be some tragedy to it. And American Werewolf in London is very sad. It's like a great cinema masala, where it's all these great ingredients combined together to create this perfect film.
How did you decide what was going to be in your mini film fest?
Well, all three of the movies that we're showing this month are celebrating their 45th anniversary this month, or this year. Wow. And so American Werewolf in London, The Howling, and Wolfen all came out in 1981. It's crazy to think that, three werewolf movies...
We're old.
Well, I never thought that. I know all three of those movies, and I never realized they were all in the same year.
Yeah, I know Wolfen's kind of seen as like the dark horse of the three. It's the one that most people haven't seen, and a lot of people don't even consider it a werewolf film because there's no transformation involved in it. But it's still part of the pack, you might say. But it's crazy to think that The Howling and American Werewolf in London, two of the greatest werewolf movies ever made, came out the same year.
Yeah. If you'd like to join our conversation, we're talking with Rob Saucedo. He has written his new graphic novel, a sequel to his last graphic novel. This one is The Curse of the Werewolf. You can join the conversation by giving us a call right now at 713-440-8870. Do you have a favorite werewolf? Do you have a favorite werewolf movie or book? Or have you ever wanted to be a werewolf? Give us a call right now, 713-440-8870. I say, have you ever wanted to be a werewolf? I have often thought about I'd like to be a vampire for the idea of living forever. Yeah. That appeals to me, and I'm working on it right now. But my always thought was like, oh my God, if I'm going to become a vampire, you got to give me a few months notice so I can get in shape, because once you transform into a vampire, that theoretically is how you stay for eternity. Yeah. So I got to lose some weight before I become
You want to look real good.
Yeah.
I think werewolf sounds awful. It just sounds like menopause to me.
Oh. Yeah. As an adult, I can recognize that turning into a werewolf is not something I would want to do. As a kid, it sounded cool, like you're like the Incredible Hulk. But as an adult, I don't want to wake up the morning after a full moon with naked in a forest next to a dead deer.
Bones in your bed.
Is there something that makes it harder to tell a werewolf story because of those elements of it? A vampire can have a romanticism to it in some ways. Werewolf, I think it's harder to hit that note because of the transformation and what you do and the lack of memory and all of that and the theoretical pain that comes with it.
But I think werewolves are more like universally recognizable to something that humans experience. I'm not talking about turning into a wolf and running through the woods, but we've all woken up and like regretted something that we've done. Maybe it's not like kill somebody, but it's like, maybe you dialed somebody up the night before after a few too many beers and said something you regretted saying. Maybe it's you sent out an email to your boss that you immediately wish you had done in a different tone. Werewolfery is all about regret. And recognizing that you did something you weren't supposed to do. And I think that's something that every human can relate to.
Yeah. Quickly speaking of regret, you'll follow this path through. We had John wrote in and said, if you ever need to host a private event, River Oaks Theater has a great private room. I don't work there. I just wanted to share. And you'll see where I'm going with this transition. That is true. It's a wonderful theater. It's a wonderful historic theater. We are so lucky we saved it. The regret comes in at what's going on over at the Garden Oaks Theater, which is a sister theater to the River Oaks, which is in fear of it meeting the wrecking ball by maybe the end of this month if they don't raise the funds they need to survive. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about someone who spends a great deal of your time in one of these rich historic theaters and why it's important we save those.
No, I think that, when Wes Anderson was in town, he said it best, you can't rebuild an old building. And I think that Houston has a tradition of tearing things down and, paving over the past. And if you go and look at the River Oaks Theater and what we've been able to accomplish these last few years since reopening, you can see that, you can take an older building and breathe new life into it. The theater is actually, the River Oaks Theater is doing better than it did, in the previous decade, even before COVID, when, theaters were seen at the height of their success. We have more people coming into the building. We have audiences more excited to see films. And it's a testament that with a little bit of fresh paint, a little bit of love and care, and a little bit of technological overhaul, you can turn any building, older building, into give it a new lease on life.
Yeah, and folks that are interested in learning more about what's going on at the Garden Oaks, you can go to arthousehouston.com. I think it might be .org. You can look it up and find it, but they are working feverishly. They're close on the timing on that. So if you can help them out, that would be great. 713-440-8870. We've got some calls on the line that want to talk to you. So if you'll pop on your headphones, we're going to go to Adriana from the Woodlands. We're going to give him 1 second to get his headphones on right. And Adriana, what's on your mind today?
Well, I was just thinking about the movie Wolf, with Michelle Pfeiffer. And Lord, I just forgot the other main actor.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yes. I thought it was pretty awesome in that movie how, Michelle Pfeiffer and also the antagonist became wolves because of the essence of the wolf, not so much being bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a new take on, the wolf. So I thought that was one of my favorite ones.
Are you a werewolf fan?
I'm just like a sci-fi / Anne Rice / all those things fan. I just like all of those types of genres. So yeah.
Well, Adriana, thank you for calling. And are you gonna read this book?
You know what? I think I might.
Oh, well, that's good.
So listening to NPR exposes me to so many wonderful things. So I didn't know about it until just now. So now I can read it.
Well, Adriana, thank you for calling in. She called in at 713-440-8870, just like Robert from Kingwood has done. Robert, what's on your mind?
Well, I was thinking, if someone becomes a werewolf, your personal grooming has to change. I would think the shampoo and the conditioner becomes very, very important, don't you think?
Shampoo, conditioner, mouthwash, brushing your teeth. Good indigestion.
You've thought this through,
like I said, just like menopause.
Yeah.
Check your gut health when you don't know what you're eating at night.
Robert, do you have a favorite werewolf book or movie?
American Werewolf in London, I think, was pretty good. The graphics, I still remember it. Of course, it depends on the age. The movie, was it 9,000 Miles from Earth or whatever, where the World War II setting, and it came out, the spirit came out of the tunnel, and the guy had to bless a crane and throw the crane into the spirit. I remember seeing that when I was 10. To this day, that still scares me, and I don't know why. It is the most corniest, B-rated horror movie. But, those are the things that you remember and who you're with and the time and the people. And I think that's really what it's all about, right?
So true, Robert. So true. Thank you for calling in and sharing with us. When I think about what goes on in the werewolf universe and where I really, besides American Werewolf, being human, that series, the BBC version of it, where it's three people who share an apartment. One's a vampire, one's a werewolf, and one's a ghost. And it sounds like a hokey setup, but it's really a cool series. But their werewolf was just so awesome in that. And the actor's name is escaping me right now who played it. He's gone on to do a whole lot of stuff, and it'll come to me in a minute. Or one of my wonderful producers will put it in my chat so I can seem smart. But I love that series. And that took a fresh, modern take on werewolf, again, moving it into what they experience and face and all of that. We had a comment come in. Favorite werewolf book growing up was Blood and Chocolate. Does that ring a bell for you?
I've never read it, but I remember the movie adaptation that came out about 20 years ago.
Annette Curtis Claus is the one who wrote it, and our arrow shifter Cheek, who sent us this comment, said was so disappointed by how badly the movie rendition treated it. So, that happens a lot. Would you like to see your series turned into something visual outside of a print visual?
Sure.
A movie, a TV series?
So it's actually already been optioned by one of the producers of Rick and Morty.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they're working on trying to turn it into an animated series. Not a lot of development yet, but these things take time. It could never happen. But in the meantime, it was it paid for a trip to Iceland. So
nice, good for you, man.
Oh, that is awesome. What was it like getting that call?
It was great. It was a very big honor. It was funny. When the first book came out, I had a few people reach out that I would never expected. I'm not going to name names, but a very popular Mexican American comedian reached out, somebody who I was a big fan of, and people sniffed around as werewolves
Was
do.
it Fluffy?
No, it was not. It was not Gabriel Iglesias. But the ultimately, the producer who reached out and eventually optioned the film. Optioned the book for development is James Fino, who's from Texas. And that's ultimately the reason why I wanted to go with him. He went to school at UT. He grew up in El Paso. He worked on King of the Hill. And, the first two books in the werewolf series are as much as they're love letters to werewolves, they're love letters to Texas. And so it's important to me that whoever I worked with has that same love and affinity for the state.
Somebody online, my British computer guy, was there to help me. It was Russell Tovey, who was the werewolf in Being Human. In the British version, I believe it was Sam Witwer who did it in the U.S. version. But go watch the BBC version. Nothing against the U.S. They're very different. One more call. Let's grab it. 713-440-8870. Max from Pearland. Max! That was my howling at the moon there. What's on your mind today?
Hello. The werewolf movie I wanted to mention was actually Twilight, Taylor Lautner, Edward versus Jacob. Oh my God, I was the perfect age for that when that movie came out. I was about 13, and I was Team Jacob all the way. Go werewolf.
I feel like the Twilight series is really having its moment in the moon right now. People have really been begging for more screenings at the River Oaks, and I think we're going to have to answer their call and bring that series back to the theater very soon.
Well, thank you for calling in, Max, and sharing it with us, sharing your thoughts with us today. Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rob Saucedo is the artistic director at the River Oaks Theater and author of the new sequel to his first book. This one is called Curse of the Werewolf. I keep stressing it just so when people look it up, they'll get it right. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Curse of the Werewolf is available now at bookstores everywhere. And don't forget, over at the River Oaks, they are going to have all the movies going on. Their little film fest starting tonight with... Wolfen is tonight.
Albert Finney.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, last minute plans. Don't go anywhere.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
It's coming up at 1 o'clock on News 88.7.
Hello, I'm Nikki Beatty. Join me for this week's Arts Hour from the BBC. With American superstar and drag race host RuPaul, Luxembourgish German actor Vicky Krieps, American composer Missy Mazzoli, Cuban ballet star Carlos Acosta, music from Nana Benz Togo, and the female Indian hip-hop collective Wild Wild Women. That's all in the Arts Hour from the BBC.
You can hear the Arts Hour coming up tonight. It's on at 10 o'clock.
From the ocean floor to the edge of the universe, PBS Science and Nature documentaries are here. Stream anytime on HPM Plus. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs.
We wanted to give you an update on our resiliency fund. Now, just $98,500 from our $4.4 million goal. Right now, thanks to Laura McWilliams in memory of Bradley McWilliams, your gift will be matched dollar for dollar. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org and click the Resiliency Fund tracker right now, or you can call 888-909-5000. 0887.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, presenting Incredible India, Call of the Flute, produced by Indian Performing Arts Samskriti, Friday, August 22nd at 8 p.m. More at milleroutdoortheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Rebekah Dahl.
Hello. Now, we started off by talking about the fact that Rebekah Dahl is in here guest hosting with me. And the fun thing was that on the after party, my late night arts-focused talk show on TV, if you can follow all of that. On our last episode, kind of like Johnny Carson had Bette Midler on his last show when he did The Tonight Show, my last guest on that show was Rebekah Dahl, because I couldn't think of anyone who carried as much talent in this town as she did to fit that kind of a bill.
Stop it. You're going to give me a big head.
Yeah, well, what it explains why you're here today is that this is going to be the last day, and I'll explain why I'm saying thank you, Lord, in a minute, of 15 weeks of guest hosts sitting in that chair. And I couldn't think of a better person to take that period of time to a close than you, Rebekah. So thank you.
Thank you, my love.
Thank the 15 weeks of guest hosts. We've had people that have been personalities, politicians, former broadcasters, current broadcasters, first ladies of the stage, folks from our newsroom. We've got to meet a lot of people and see a lot of wonderful talent. And I thank you all for sitting in that chair and helping us through this period of time. I said earlier, thank God it came to an end, not because I haven't enjoyed it every single day. It's been a lot because you don't know who's sitting next to you each day.
Yeah.
But I do know who's going to be sitting next to me starting Monday. She's going to be with us for the long haul. We are so thrilled to have her finally officially joining the show. She started working here 2 weeks ago, so it's been really weird that she's here, but she hasn't been on air. So we dragged her in there today.
That's right.
Tessa Barrera, this is going to be your show.
I very much feel like the bulls in the cage when, they're like just waiting. I feel like Toro. It's like, open my cage already. Let me go bucking around, Let's thrill some people. No, it's going to be a really fun new era to usher in.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
But I've enjoyed all of the co-hosts as well. It's been a smorgasbord. It's been radio charcuterie, and it's been very delicious.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. You're quick on your
Hey, you know what? There's more of that. Okay, hopefully. I'm going to get some rest this week. I'm so ready to go. I feel like a first day of school vibes, maybe lay the outfit out. What am I going to wear on my first day?
You look cute.
Thanks. I got my hair done. I want, if you're watching on YouTube, don't get used to the hair and the makeup always being done, because as we know, some days,
some days
PBS doesnn have a glam squad.
Not yet they don't. Not yet they don't, Rebekah.
Girl, you can make changes.
I'm a big fan of follower of Jim and Tammy Faye Baker back from the PTL days. I always was obsessed with all of that was going on. And Tammy Faye, in a TV movie made about her, had said, you just have those days sometimes you don't know what to do with your hair, so you just throw on a wig and a ton of makeup. And it's like, you have those days.
Yeah,
but then
that's right.
I expect every day is going to be fabulous with you here on the show.
It's going to be such a fun time, and we're going to have so many. We meshed right away, and I think all of the conversations, if that's what we had on our first couple of days together, I think that the only way is up, babe. That's all we can only go up from here.
During a lot of the guest hosting period, we were looking at potential other hosts to get this seat eventually.
You have to.
And when you came in, the chemistry just felt so right, felt so easy. And we've joked about this off air. Yeah. It was like we'd known each other our whole lives.
It was very comfortable.
Brother, sister, right there in the moment. And it made my heart feel good to know that there was a you out there for a me. Yay. And then that you said yes, because there was a period where, you had to decide, was this what you wanted to do with the next chapter of your life?
There was a fork in my road. There really was. There was a fork in my road, and I did feel, oh my gosh, this could really go this way, and this could really be something great. And I'm sitting here today because that was my gut instinct. That was my women's intuition. Rebekah, as you know, we have to listen to that inner voice.
That's right, girl. You got to pray on it.
Yes, you do. You really, really do. And I always knew, even though I entertained other thoughts, and I go, no, you can talk around it all you want. That's what you'll be. You'll be in that seat. And yeah, it worked. It worked out, and the prayers worked. And everyone's been so kind so far, and I've been watching the chat. I haven't been in there, but I've been watching you. Big sister has been watching the chat, and it's just a cool place.
So you know our YouTubers already. You've been monitoring them.
I do.
She's got flock cameras on you.
That's right.
Well,
right.
I want to tell you right now that your YouTubers are coming to town. They are talking. Let's see. Welcome, Tessa. So happy you are officially part of the team from My British Computer Guy, who is our #1 commenter currently.
I know.
Resonate says, Tessa is a gem, listening since the buzz.
So nice. And that's the other thing. So, people grew up with Rod Ryan Show, and I feel like I've grown up with Rod Ryan Show, and it wasn't a place that I knew. I knew eventually I would say, okay, what else is out there? I would take a look around what else is out there, because that's natural, right? Professionally. And this Hello Houston Public Media is a place where I feel like I can be a seed and plant myself and grow and thrive. And that just is so nice, It's so
Let me tell you, as the old weeping willow who's been here a long time, yes, you can definitely grow into a strong
under the
tree
shade of Ernie
Honey,
Menez.
you're evergreen. You're evergreen. What are you talking
Thank you,
about?
an evergreen.
Weeping
Better than
willow.
a weeping willow. I prefer that.
If you chop the weeping willow down, you'll count the 30 rings and see.
years
30,
here.
is that all he is?
30 years, right here.
Oh, that's it.
I've got another comment. I jokingly said on Tessa's first appearance that Jimbo, our producer, needed to offer this lady a job. So happy he did.
The pitchforks and signs worked. Good job. Always do that, okay? Always be loud and vocal, because there's it's fewer and fewer places where the listener has just as much feedback. I mean, we're taking it in, right?
Yeah.
So in a place that is a platform for that, I mean, go all in. Go all in on the YouTube. Type in all caps. When you feel it, you feel it.
Okay.
I do want to also comment, when you come into a job like this, there's the chit chat and the conversation and the fun and the interviews, but there's also the sense that you got to be on top of the news.
Totally.
And for me, the biggest problem when I take a vacation or something is always like, oh, turn off the news outlet. But then when I come back on that Monday or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, what did I miss? I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's happening, because the world moves so quickly.
Totally.
What have you been doing to get ready for Monday?
So there is a lot of prep work, and that is a side of me. So I've been in FM radio, I've been in lifestyle, but I got my start, my chops in news. My first big story was Hurricane Harvey, when I switched from sports to very serious matters. And I knew that was something that I could lean into. And that part of me, that little, file in my repertoire hasn't been opened in a really long time, but I'm excited it's opening again, and I can't wait, because everyone has, I have a fun, playful side, but I also have this very serious and curious and I want to know side. So I can't wait to explore that. And how have I been prepping? Yeah, I guess I have been more locked in. I do a lot of screenshotting, a lot of bookmarking, a lot of, hey, you need to read that. Hey, you need to read that. That's the normal.
You brought up a point that I think is really interesting, and it's so rare, and I like to think that I do it. And that's part of the thing that I think connects the two of us. It's that you can have the fun, silly, the lifestyle, the joy of all that.
Have to.
But you can also have the serious, in-depth. And
Need
the
to.
important thing is, can an audience go with you on that journey between the two? Because so often you get characterized as a personality out there that is one thing.
Right.
And you have done this in your career too, which is you have been able to cover more serious issues and also have fun. And the audience understands who you are. And that's important.
Well, it's a testament to them. And I think it's a testament to people, because I think now, we used to do that, right? A long time ago. Well, think of music. Well, I'm a country artist and all I do is country, and I would never do pop. Well, all I do is rap, and I'm a serious hardcore rapper. And now it's like, people aren't like that. You can't put people in a box. We are so many levels, and people are able to do all those facets of life with us, which is another reason why I can't wait for the people who are already here. I thank you for welcoming me, but I hope other people will get in on the conversation and join us, because there is room at the table for everyone. Absolutely.
Oh, and I'm planning on using to exploit you for all your contacts and for your audience. Trust me.
Okay, so this was funny. So we were thinking, okay, well, who can we have, like, Tessa, do you know any famous people that could, like, call in the show and congratulate you? And the more I think about it, I'm like, No, you know who I want to call in? I want my mom. I want my mom to call in because those are my peeps. That is my foundation. And I think on the first day, I'd like I haven't asked her, so if she's watching, maybe
I have a funny feeling you could get her.
Maybe
book.
she'll call. I don't know.
You don't know? She's in great
she's pretty
demand.
crazy. She's pretty crazy.
Quickly,
lady.
last minute plans. I just want to remind everyone it's the Pride Parade this weekend. There is no festival. It's just the parade, if I understand correctly. Feeling Groovy at the Music Box Theater with Rebekah Dahl is going on this weekend. Very excited about that. Xanadu at the Garden Theater. We've got comedians around town. It's World Elephant Day is being celebrated at the Houston Zoo. And on that note, Rebekah, thank you so much for keeping that chair warm today.
I loved it. Thank you for having me. Congratulations. You're going to be amazing. I can already tell.
Tessa, I'm so excited to have you keep that chair warm now for years to come.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Ernie Manous here, wishing you a great weekend. We'll see you all on Monday when Tessa and Ernie take to the airwaves as Hello Houston starts a new era. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menivar, Laura Walker, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, Jayla Rhodes, Mark DeClaudio, Tom Carter, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Is your car or truck just sitting in the garage gathering dust? It's time to kick that ride to the curb. When you donate any vehicle to